Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. This is Roaming Prepper Channel, and I want to thank you once again for listening to my ranting on the internet. This particular video, I want to talk about something that we all need to think about. We have to ask ourselves the most important question: what are we being prepared for? When I do live streams on places like X or TikTok, the more like contemporary platforms where people are just constantly going in and out of chat. That's something I get a lot. Well, what are you prepping for? Is something happening? Um, the only person who can answer that is actually you. You're one of those folks who live where you are. You live in your house, you know your area, you have your dogs, you have your family, your friends, your resources, you know what is available to you as a tool. This is where I think a lot of new preparedness folks, and even some experienced ones, and I've been guilty of it also, you get diluted. You start trying to prepare, like you'll listen to different creators and go online and read articles and go, wow, that's a good idea. I should invest some money in X, invest some money in Y, invest some time in Z. But time, money, energy, these are all resources and they're finite. None of us have infinite energy unless you're snorting cocaine, and even then, that's not good. We don't have infinite money. You sure as hell know that. And time is always of the essence, right? Understand your area. And I broke it down in my book, but I'm going to give you a real quick summary. Understand what are the resources in your area. What is your geography? And that includes your geology, which is different from geography. They're part of a larger earth science, but they're distinct. What is your geography? What is the land? What is the water, wind, weather patterns, the demographics? And again, demographics don't mean white person, black person, Asian person, Hispanic. It is much more elaborate than that. Population density, economic situation, for people, their religions, the typical languages, right? If you are, for example, I'm going to use an extreme example. If you are someone who is a Christian or a Jew and you're living in a country run by the Taliban that it has Sharia law, you may not be very welcome there. There's a risk, right? And I mean, I'm using an extreme example not to be racist or anything. It's just what it is, right? Those are outside of the local norm. So would you stand out for that? If the whole area is Roman Catholic and you're Jewish, are you going to stand out in that respect? How do you not stand out? Being the gray man in the country, being the gray man in a place like, say, Houston, and then being gray in Manhattan are going to look totally different. I mean, you look at the way I am right now. I got the plaid shirt over, the skull and crossbones T-shirt. I got a camo hat. I look like every other guy out here in the country, whether they be black, white, Hispanic, Korean, or Vietnamese, which are the predominant ethnic groups out here, and mixes thereof because they marry each other. Um, Nobody noticed me. I'm just another dude walking around going about his day. I dress like this in Houston, not really going to get noticed much either, other than, man, that shirt's kind of like warm for this weather. Now, if I go to Manhattan, to the Upper East Side, and walk around like this, I may or may not stand out. I might attract attention because of the t shirt. Knowing where you are and what's around you. Every place has its unique situation, has its unique threat, has its unique probability. If you're preparing for a hurricane and you live in Minnesota, that doesn't make sense. If you live in Florida and you're preparing for a blizzard, could it happen? Technically, yes. The chance is very small. Preparing for tornadoes in Oklahoma, good idea. Preparing for hurricanes in Houston and Corpus Christi, a good idea. So understand your area, the weather, the people, the demographics, the cultures, and then you get a picture of what is your most likely, your 90% likely stuff that'll happen. Hurricanes in Texas, all the time. Tornadoes, Oklahoma and Tennessee, all the time. That's what you prep for there. And in prepping for that, you will indirectly prep for other things. Also, your training should be the same way. There's no point in training to rappel off a mountain if you live in El Paso. There are mountains in El Paso, but there are really none high enough for rappelling. And there's certainly none in, central West Texas. Lubbock has rivers, so does San Angelo. So maybe flooding might be a risk there. Take a minute this week, look at your local map. And I did a whole nother video on maps. Look at your local map. Where are the waterways? What is your typical weather? Look back 50 years. You can Google it, YouTube it, Yahoo it, whatever the hell search engine you want to use, and get an understanding what has happened in this area, what is typical. You don't get a lot of earthquakes in Houston. You get a boatload of them in California. That's a very different type of prepping than hurricane, right? Understanding the differences between these areas, that's going to make a huge difference in the way you prep, the way you spend money, and the way you invest your time. And again, they're all finite resources. So take some time this week and just evaluate what are your top 3 risks: hurricanes, floods, blizzards, avalanches. You could be in any one of those. Oops. So evaluate that and determine exactly what your risks are. And if you'd like to share in the comments below the video, please do. Again, if you share the video, that would be appreciated. I do try to make my own premieres. Sometimes I just can't. But if you have questions, I should be in my premiere. If I'm not, throw them in the comments. And if you want to share what you think your biggest 3 risks are in your area, you don't have to say what area it is. Just say what has happened in the past. Other people can maybe collaborate with you and say, oh, wow, this person has tornadoes in their area. What are you doing to prepare for those tornadoes? Especially if you've just moved from like Chicago to Houston and you've never seen a hurricane other than TV. Be a good thing to ask the folks who've gone through 5, 6, or 9 of them like we have. Hey, how do you prep for a hurricane versus a blizzard? Anyway, folks, I'll leave you with that short video tonight. You guys be good, be safe, be careful out there. I'll see you all later.